Ferrari arrives at the next round of the 2025 Formula One Championship decidedly battered. The Prancing Horse, in fact, heads into the 7th Grand Prix of the season at the circuit named after Enzo and Dino Ferrari with a lot of doubts, unfortunately much more than expected. The Formula One season has started disastrously from every point of view, just when there was hope that the historic Italian team had finally embarked on a technically sound path. Although not without its limits, last season was still positive, considering that the red team returned to fighting for something important right up to the final race. If, as it seems, the Maranello engineers are designing a sort of B version of the SF-25, then many questions need to be asked. Questions that involve all levels of the Italian team, from technical direction to managerial leadership. The first question is this: will the Italian team be able to change direction with developments and at least give some meaning to the 2025 Formula One Championship? It is a question that is viewed with some skepticism considering Ferrari's track record and the Super McLaren, a team with a significant technical advantage capable of dominating the first part of the season without even breaking a sweat. To a straightforward question, the answer is not as obvious as it might seem. Who made the key decisions in terms of designing the car competing in the current championship? It's worth remembering that Italian aerodynamicist Enrico Cardile resigned in July last year, at a time when many resources were already allocated to the 677 technical project. It is also true that the technical director rarely gets into the details of the work done by various divisions. Nonetheless, he ties it all together, managing in a synergistic way a very complex technical project. Therefore, the technical discontinuity that characterizes the Italian car, compared to the 2024 version, could have been launched precisely during the mandate of the engineer from Arezzo. In some ways, it's a scenario similar to 2023, when Mattia Binotto was removed from his duties in December 2022. In that case, too, it was a matter of induced resignation. The sudden split between Enrico Cardile and the Maranello team was a real bolt from the blue, forcing Frédéric Vasseur to take over the technical responsibilities on an interim basis. Previously, the Ferrari team principal had recruited his fellow countrymen Loic Serra and Jerome D'Ambrosio from Mercedes. However, upon arriving in Italy, the Frenchman was given a completely different role. Loic Serra was therefore catapulted into the lead due to lack of alternatives. The former Mercedes technician was assigned the role of head of chassis performance engineering, reporting directly to Frédéric Vasseur, with the main task of coordinating the track engineering departments, aerodynamic development, aerodynamic operations, and vehicle performance, a sort of glue, in short. To sum things up, it is worth highlighting a fact that partly explains a lot. The Frenchman from the Brackley team had not, in fact, been hired as a technical director. His tasks were different, no less important, but not in a leadership capacity. However, due to the lack of optimal solutions, Loic Serra was promoted to that role to make up for an unexpected and unpredictable organizational change. After all, in his very long career, the former Michelin engineer had never before taken on the role of technical director of a team. At this point, Loic Serra inherited a project already in an advanced stage of development, and above all, without a proper instruction manual, especially since in the following months it emerged that Enrico Cardile's departure was anything but painless. This is, in a way, the story of Ferrari, a team that wants to get things done but unfortunately can't seem to make it happen. The week leading up to the Imola Grand Prix also began with the news of two significant departures from Ferrari's Maranello headquarters. Christopher and Silvio Capasso have decided to join the Alpine project after several years with the Prancing Horse. However, Ferrari wasted no time and responded immediately by hiring two engineers under Frédéric Vasseur. Since his arrival in Maranello, the team principal of the Italian side has implemented a true revolution in the team's technical department. Amid notable departures and some important arrivals, the fans were not pleased with the decision not to pursue Adrian Newey. The British genius, after leaving Red Bull, had been linked to Ferrari for several months, but ultimately accepted a lucrative offer from Lawrence Stroll. The Canadian entrepreneur made an attractive financial offer to Adrian Newey, along with the opportunity to remain in the United Kingdom, which convinced the Brit to join Aston Martin. Frédéric Vasseur, however, did not want to be caught unprepared by the recent departures, so he hired two engineers directly from two of Ferrari's main rivals. Christos Christoforidis, formerly with Mercedes, will focus on optimizing simulator performance. Cohen Holland, coming from Red Bull, will work on CFD simulations for the cars of the future. Both are already working in Maranello to help the Italian side resolve the issues seen in the start of this season, and are beginning to plan for the Ferrari of the future. For Frédéric Vasseur's team, after a 2025 Formula One season that started on the wrong foot, it will be essential to get things right. Looking ahead to the Imola weekend, the long European season officially begins, as well as a triple header of races that, along with the Monaco Grand Prix and the Barcelona Grand Prix, will reveal much about the 2025 Formula One Championship prospects. Qualifying will be the highlight of the weekend in Italy, offering Max Verstappen and the Mercedes duo an unmissable chance to trouble a McLaren that would otherwise be unreachable in race pace. However, the world champions could capitalize on their excellent tire management in qualifying, taking advantage of the debut of the C6 compound, whose understanding will be Ferrari's main mission in the first home Grand Prix. McLaren comes off a dominant double victory in Miami, although the team had to concede both pole positions on offer, confirming their struggles in qualifying. Despite being the favorites, the world champions will have to work hard to stay ahead at Imola. The Santerno track is particularly difficult for overtakes, with only one DRS activation zone, a narrow racing line, and a relatively short straight. The Italian weekend will therefore largely be decided on Saturday, highlighting McLaren's issues with single-lap pace. Since the start of the 2025 Formula One season, Lando Norris has repeatedly stated that the MCL39 is a difficult car to push to the limit, a characteristic stemming from poor grip perception. Andrea Stella explained that the problem comes from a front end that gives drivers weak feedback, forcing them to rely on feel and drive blindly. This is not ideal, especially at Imola, an old-school narrow circuit with gravel right beyond the curb, where having a good feel for the car is everything. This opens up an opportunity for rivals to try to upset McLaren's dominance and dream of a big result. The most credible challenger is Max Verstappen, with 3 pole positions this season, including one in Miami, and the prospect of defending a potential pole position this time. However, Mercedes, the most versatile and consistent car on the grid, should not be ignored. George Russell is one of the best specialists in qualifying, paired with an Andrea Kimi Antonelli, who is steadily improving. In front of his home crowd, the Italian driver will have the advantage of racing on a familiar track, having raced in Formula 2 and also tested with Mercedes W14 in 2022. Concerningly for Ferrari, their worst display yet came last time out in Miami, with Lewis Hamilton finishing an eighth a minute behind winner Oscar Piastri, and his teammate Charles Leclerc just 3 seconds better off in 7th. It is then perhaps not the most ideal timing from a Ferrari perspective for the first of their 2 home races on the 2025 calendar, with Imola hosting this weekend before the Italian Grand Prix at Monza in September. Ferrari notably overhauled their 2024 car despite ending the season extremely strongly, leading some to question in recent weeks whether taking a more developmental approach to last year's model would have been a better option. While there is frustration at Ferrari's start to the season, the tifosi will arrive in Imola full of hope that a reversal of their recent form is possible. People will be definitely cheering Ferrari and hoping for something to happen. Just about every team on the grid are expected to bring significant upgrades to Imola, with the first European race of the season the usual arrival point for new parts. This season's Imola updates are seen as even more important than usual, with major changes to the regulations next year, meaning teams not competing for victories are likely to shift their resources and focus to 2026.